Touchscreens are rapidly changing the way we play tabletop RPGs, and for a good reason. They make managing maps, tokens, visual effects faster, smoother, and more immersive. Whether you're running Dungeons & Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, Daggerheart, or another system, a touchscreen can modernize and streamline your games. In this video, I'll be walking you through the very basics of setup using Foundry VTT with your touchscreen tabletop. Hello, my name is Tom Tobar, and welcome to Level Up Crafting. Today, we're not going to be crafting with our hands. Instead, we're going to be crafting a digital experience. I've been running my tabletop game using a touchscreen setup for about a few months now. And I'll tell you what, it has been a total game changer. My players are blown away with how smooth and immersive it all feels. And honestly, so was I. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on the basic setup of touchscreen with Foundry VTT. Now, Foundry is an amazing software, but it was originally created for multiple users, each with their own computers. And for this reason, many of Foundry's features become cumbersome for touchscreen users. Today, I'm going to be showing you some of the basic setups that you're going to be needing in order to mitigate a lot of these frustrations. Now, this video is going to be very detailed, so that even a beginner can get themselves up and running. Because of that, it's going to be a little longer than my average videos. I highly suggest that if you are already familiar with Foundry VTT, that you use the navigation menu below to jump to the sections that you need the most. But I recommend watching it all the way through the first time so that you don't miss anything. When you're all set up, be sure to catch our next video that'll explore some of the more advanced features for your touchscreens. With these advancements, you'll be able to bring a whole new level of immersion to your game. I'll even include how to combine physical miniatures with your digital display for the ultimate hybrid experience. And if you finish this video and decide, yeah, I totally want one of these touchscreen tables for myself, I've got you covered there as well. All you need to do is click this video right over here and it'll give you a full walkthrough on how to build your very own touchscreen digital display for less than you might expect. If you enjoy this content, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We're a small but dedicated channel, constantly striving to improve and bring you better and better content. Your support means we'll be able to continue making content like this in the future. Now, let's go ahead and get ourselves started. As you can see, I have a relatively new Foundry VTT installation ready to go. This is version 13, build 346. Let's go ahead and start by getting our game system up and running. First thing we're going to do is click this Install System, and we're going to choose the game that we would like to play. For me, I'm going to be choosing the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Although there are lots and lots of different games that you can choose from, and this is where you would be selecting them from. So I'm going to go ahead and select Install, and it'll go ahead and install those things into my Foundry VTT software. Now that that's installed, go ahead and click Close, and as you can see, it's sitting right here. There are a lot of other systems that you can choose from. Pathfinder, for example, Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, a number of games that are all compatible with Foundry VTT, which makes it a very, very useful system to be using. Now that we have a game system installed, we want to go ahead and move over into our modules. I've gone ahead and started downloading a number of modules already. And how you do this is you go ahead and click Install Module, and you start typing in the information that you need. The number one most important module that you're going to need is called Lock View. Everything that's going to be working for your touchscreen in-person game is going to be centered around this lock view. Extremely, extremely important. So as you can see, I've already installed it, but if you haven't, this would be, say, installed just like the gaming package was, and you click it and it'll install. Here are the list of all of the modules that I would start with to get you up and running. So go ahead and take a little screenshot if you need to, and then once you've got these all installed on your system, we'll go ahead and start building a game. So we're going to go over here to Game Worlds, and we're going to go ahead and start creating a new game world. This game world I'm going to go ahead and call Test. The most important thing you need to do here is also select the gaming system that you're planning to use. For me, this is a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game, so it's going to set up this game board up with those rules. If you're doing Call of Cthulhu or anything else like that, you're going to go ahead and select that gaming system here. Create world. And there we go. Our world is created. So let's go ahead and launch that game. First, you're going to be set up here where it's going to show you the gaming title that you chose. I chose Test. And right now there's only one user, and that user is the game master. So I'm going to select that. There is no password since I just started this up, and I'm going to hit start. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and start with going in here and getting a map up and running. So we're going to go to this scenes area here on the right hand side, create a scene, and we're going to call this main map. I'm going to say create scene. At this point, it starts to populate with these grids, and then we can start getting all this other information up and running. Permissions, I want to show on the navigation menu, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the background image. So I'm going to go ahead and select this upload version, and it's going to come into my assets area. And so I'm going to go ahead and select the upload button. So I'm going to choose a file. I'm going to go and navigate on my computer to the file that I've selected. There it is. And I'm going to say select file, and I'm going to say save my changes. Now my file is up and running. Here is my map that I've chosen. This specific map is actually brought to you by Beneos Battlemaps. It is a great service to use when you're looking for battle maps. They have a Patreon online, link in the description. And this just happens to be their library that they have selected, one of their options they have. I am personally fond of this one in particular. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and use this map and get things up and running. But first, what we want to do is we want to come over here to the settings area, and we want to get all those modules that we had downloaded previously and get them up and running. As you can see, here's all the ones that I personally use. If you're not using Dungeons & Dragons, you don't need, or D&D Beyond, you don't need an importer, but I personally use that a lot to grab things from Dungeons & Dragons D&D Beyond website and have that their character sheets and everything imported into this system. Dice So Nice is just a nice way of some nice dice. Lock view, again, as I said, is the most important one. And tokenizers is a cool thing that you want to use to make your tokens really unique and things. So we're going to go ahead and save with these ones. Now, I know I'm making a mistake, but I'm doing it on purpose. I'm going to hit Save Modules, and we're going to say, yes, let's reload the page. As soon as I reload this page, it's going to give me an error. Oh, and there it is. What I've done is I have activated lock screen, or the lock view, but I didn't use a dependent mod and activate that one as well. Now, the reason that I'm showing you this is to show you that if a mod uses other mods in order to work properly, it'll show you here that you're missing something. And so I say, oh yeah, I need this lib wrapper. So I'm going to say, I understand. And so I'm going to come back over here to my settings, go to my mod manager, and there it is, lib wrapper. I'd already installed it. If you hadn't installed it, go to the previous page, and you can start uploading it. So we're going to save those mods and reload the page. So before we continue, let's go ahead and talk just a little bit about why lock view is so important as a mod to have installed for your touchscreen. Now, whenever you're using a touchscreen, you're really only using about 2 of your fingers or 1 of your fingers in order to manipulate anything that's on that screen. Well, because there's so many things to manipulate, the computer might get confused as to, well, am I trying to move the map? Am I trying to move the token? Am I trying to open something up? Am I trying to close something down? So the more that there are options available for the touchscreen to interact with, the more confused it's going to get and the more you're going to be running into some troubles. And so what lock view does is it eliminates some of those things that will cause us problems. One of the main ones is to lock down the view of the map or the screen so that the map itself doesn't won't move around a whole bunch. So let's go ahead and look into that. But the first thing we actually need to do before we go into any of these settings is we're actually needing to add another account to the profile, another user account. We have the Game Master account, which is what I'm using here, but we also need to create a user account for the touchscreen to access. So let's go and do that really quickly. First thing that we want to do is we want to click on the settings and then go to user management. We have just the Game Master user right here, and that's it. We want to create an additional user. It says player 2, but we don't want to call it player 2. We want to call this touchscreen. And we want it to be set on a player role. User roles, player, and hit save. Now that I've created a second user, I have a user for myself, which is the Game Master, and I have a user that is the touchscreen designation that all my players are going to access. I need to be able to get my main account and the user account on 2 separate computers, one for my touchscreen and one for my Game Master screen. Because this is a tutorial, I'm going to be doing them both on one screen, but don't follow my example here. Do it on 2 separate screens. But I need to access that second screen. And how do I do that? I go there. I do it by clicking on Settings, Invitation Links. This is going to give me the URL, basically, that I'm going to be copying and pasting into a web viewer in order to access the touchscreen account. So I'm going to go and do that now. Once you paste that link into your Internet Explorer, your Chrome extension, or your Edge web browser, you're going to be sent to your login screen. Now that we've created a second account, we can see that touchscreen is sitting right here. I'm going to go ahead and say join the game. It starts up with this loading screen and says save player view or customizations, and everything is wonderful and spectacular, isn't it? Well, there's a problem. The problem is that we need to set up the views for that account. How we do this is we're going to go to scenes, the scene that we're looking at, and we're going to configure the scene. And this is our culprit right here, token vision. Well, right now I haven't assigned any of the new tokens or player characters to that user. And I also haven't set up any kind of vision for those users. And so I need to go ahead and remove this because I don't want it to be centered on the view of my screen to be centered on only the tokens. I want my view to be for everything and everyone. I want everybody to see everything that I see. And so I take off that and I hit save. When I go back to my player view, you can see there it is with all of its glory. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can move things around. I have all my access to like my hotkeys and my other options here as a player on the player side. It looks slightly different than the Game Master view. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to start limiting what this player view can actually access, see, and manipulate with the touchscreen. So the first thing I'm really going to want to do is I want to zoom in on my map. So let's go back to my Game Master side, and I'm going to click on this button right here. This is Lock View Application here on the left-hand side. And because I want to set my view, I'm going to use that top button right over here. Right here is where you want to set it and say what you want it, how you want it to be manipulated. My favorite two on this list are automatic fit inside or automatic fit outside. Inside means whatever picture or image that you're using or video that you're using as your backdrop for your battle maps, whatever the case is, it's going to crop everything to the inside of that image. Outside means is that no matter if it's like a box that I'm using as a map, the whole thing is going to be visible, which means if I'm using a rectangle for my screen, I'm going to have like boxes on the side that are empty. So let me go and show you what outside looks like first, just so you have an idea of what it looks like. So let me do that, close that down, and go to my player view. And as you can see, I have this gray outside border, my inside grids, and my my map. This is with everything on that map being visible. I personally don't like this. It kind of looks a little cheap. I want my players to see everything that is on the touchscreen board. So let's go back to the Game Master view. I'm going to change this again, and I'm going to change it from outside to inside, automatically fit on the inside, and I'm going to set that view. Now that I've done that, I jump back to my player view, and there it is. It's taken up the full real estate of the screen that I'm using. This is probably what you're probably going to want to do as well. Now, even though it sets this as an initial view, it doesn't mean that anything is locked down. For example, on my player side, I can still move things around. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. And so that's the next piece that I'm going to go ahead and start manipulating and changing. Let's go ahead and jump back to our main screen here. And instead of using this sidebar, I'm actually going to do a different way of doing this. I'm going to click the right click on the map, go to configure, and on the right-hand side, you're going to see that it has this lock screen button here. And I'm going to use the following options. I'm going to lock all these pieces here. Do auto scale. I'm going to leave this one as off. That is very, very important, or else you're going to run into some issues. Sidebar, I always say collapse. And then I also click these buttons as well. UI elements, that's all this stuff on the left side, the bottom, the hotkeys, the chat, the settings, all that kind of stuff. That's all these buttons here. I'm going to say I want every single one of these things hidden. This is the way I usually do it, but just for an example, I'm going to leave one of these open. I'm going to go ahead and choose the chat notifications. I'm going to leave this one open. That's this section right here, just to show you what it looks like. And then the last one here is force initial view. Basically what that means is that when I set this as my view, it's going to force it to this these settings automatically. And I'm going to say save. Save these changes. As soon as I hit save, I'm going to jump over to my player view and see what it looks like. And oh, I forgot to push a button. Instead of saying hide on, never. Of course I want it on. I want it always on. Always have this on. I can't believe I forgot that button. Now, when I jump back over here, oh, now look at that. All my stuff has disappeared except for the messages. Again, you can customize this to however you want. I personally like to have all of them off, so I'm going to come back over here again to the UI, and I'm going to say I want that one off as well. Over here again, it's gone. Okay, so this is extremely helpful to get things where you want them to go and make sure that whatever you're doing on this screen, you're not going to be manipulating your maps in any way. It's going to be locked down. You're not going to be accidentally hitting a hotkey or hitting some buttons off to the right or the left. It makes it nice and clean and organized, because when you're using a touch screen, the more organization you have, the better. So let's go ahead and jump back to this view over here. I'm going to show you 2 more buttons that are extremely helpful. These are on the lock view selection, and it's the last 2 on here. I'm going to use view box, and I'm going to use edit view. First thing I'm going to do is just do view box. This here, this green outline, shows me what my players are seeing on the touchscreen on their side. I can use edit box to manipulate this to move it to where I want it to go. So I want to, for example, zoom in a whole bunch, and I want it to be centered around this little area here. I've done that. I've manipulated everything to force them to see only what it is I want them to see. And again, from here, they're not able to move things around. Okay, so one of the last things that I want to show you concerning this lock view app, or this lock view module, is that you can use, you can set up your scene the way that you like, and then you can duplicate all the settings that you have there for future maps that you want to put on here, or future scenes that you put together. So let's go ahead and show you how to do that right now. So as you can see, I'm back here again, and I have my main map set up, and I am just going to check it really quickly to make sure it has everything that I want it to have. And so this is the lock view. It's got all these different settings. It's got these different settings, all these different pieces, all wonderful and amazing. Always is on. And then force lock view. It all looks spectacular. And now I want to pull in a new map, but I want all the settings to be the exact same. I don't want to go in there and click all those buttons all over again. So here's how I'm going to do that. At the bottom of this list is Scene Configurer. Now I only have one scene, and that is main map, which is the one I'm looking at. However, it says down here in the bottom, default. Now default is, I can set this to match whatever I have up here, go through all the little buttons and click all the little buttons on and off. And that means that whatever I set those settings to, in a new map that I bring into the software, it's going to apply these settings automatically, which is really fantastic. So let me go ahead and come in here, and I already went through and I already clicked all these buttons. But let's go ahead and just say I want the scene navigation to still be available for my players. So I'm going to take that one off. I'm going to say close, and then I'm going to say save changes here. And now I'm going to make a new scene. So now I'm going to come over here where it says scene, create scene. I'm going to create a new scene. And then when I go to lock view, all these views, all these settings have already been put into place. Look at that. All amazing and spectacular. And it matches the exact same thing that I'm using as my default. It just copied it and moved it forward. This helps to make sure that whatever you do is going to be consistent across all the different maps that you're going to use. Very, very helpful. Now, the next piece that we're going to go ahead and go into is how to make characters specifically for your touchscreen. I know you can make characters anytime, but we're going to go and do that now. They call their characters, or their player characters and tokens, actors in this software. So we're going to go to this little person button here on the right-hand side, and then we're going to say create actor. And we're going to call this one player 1. Completely and utterly original, right? Okay, so here's my player 1 information. If you have that D&D importer from D&D Beyond, there's ways to get all that stuff that you have in D&D Beyond and have this populate from there. I'm not going to go into all that. That would make this video much, much longer, and it's already kind of long. So we're going to kind of just skip through these pieces. The next most important thing you're going to want to do is go up here to these little toggle options, the little 3 buttons, and you want to go ahead and change the prototype token. The thing that you want to go to is the vision. Vision is enabled. In other words, this token is going to have vision. It's going to have a field of view. And you can change a lot of different things in here. But let's go ahead and change this right now to 30. It's going to have a basic vision of 30. In other words, it's going to be able to see 30 feet. And after that, it's not going to be able to see anymore. Let's go ahead and do this again. I'm going to create another actor. We're going to call this player 2. And I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to come in here and change the prototype. I'm going to change the vision. And this one is going to have also a 30-foot viewing space. Anything past that 30 feet, it's just not going to be able to see. It's going to be black. Now, what I want to do is I want to get both of these characters, because everybody's using the same exact user, which is the touchscreen user base. And so what we want to do is assign these actors to that one account user. So how we do that is we right-click on any one of these actors and we say configure ownership. Now the ownership is going to say all players are going to be the owner, and all players, including touchscreen, is definitely going to be the owner. And we're going to say save. And we're going to do the same thing all over again. Now what this means is that when the touchscreen, when my players go to the touchscreen, it doesn't matter who is at the table and who's manipulating the buttons. Everybody's going to have access to all of their own character information sheets, move their tokens and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and grab some of these guys and put them onto the screen. I put one guy here and I put the other little guy there. Let me go and zoom in so you can see these guys a little better. Okay, so I have my characters in place. Let's go over to my view. And what you'll see is that they have their little circles of view. What's really great about this is that if they're relatively close, it's kind of hard to see. But when I click away from them, you'll see that they have their combined views are right here. Everything that you can see is them together. But if I were to get one of these guys and take him over here, for example, well, the other character sheet is gone. He's missing. Where did he go? Well, the reason he disappeared is because this guy can't see him. He can only see out 30 feet. So what happens is I can deselect just by clicking somewhere else on the map, and I can see their combined views all together. I can see this guy, and I can see this guy. This becomes extremely helpful because when you're at the table, you don't just want to see from one player's perspective. You want to see from everybody's perspective. However, it's extremely important to also know what can my personal players see. And so when they select their character token, it automatically updates to show only that one person. And again, when you click away, you see the combined of everybody. What can everybody see as a whole? This is extremely important and extremely helpful, and you can do this to multiple of your players. So far, I've only shown you Dice So Nice. LibWrapper is attached to the Lock View module as well, so it's already showing you some of those pieces. Let me go ahead and show you what another one is, which I think is also extremely important for at-the-table play with touchscreens, and that is this one right here. Illandril's Turn Maker. This is a pretty great one, and I'll show you why here in a minute. First thing we need to do is we need to select both of our tokens, or all of our tokens, really. And then we're going to click it, and then there's this little, the swords and the shield there. It's just the combat slate. As soon as I click that button, what ends up happening is it pushes us into a combat scenario. And there they are. Because I have the mod activated, when I begin combat, it's going to do this. Let me go and show you on the player side. It's going to highlight which player is up. Who's up in combat? Well, that person right there is up for combat. There's no question. This also works for NPCs. It also works for enemies and all that kind of stuff. It's a nice little visual at the table to say, oh, this person is up and this is what they're going to be doing. But that's not the only thing that this mod actually does. It also has a few other features. To access these features, I'm going to go ahead and leave that where it's at, but I'm going to come into the configuration settings of this module. There it is, Illandril's Turn Maker. And so we see there's a bunch of different options. Here's the ones that I choose. I choose to block off turn movement for anybody else except for the player that's up and running. So this is my player side. This player is going to move 10 feet this direction, 10 feet that direction, and 10 feet that way. What's great is it shows me the 1, 2, 3, 4 of all the different directions of my player gets to use, and I get to see exactly how many feet that they've moved based on the squares. But what's also really great about this, and I think is even more important for touchscreen, is that maybe I accidentally grab this token and I move it. Well, because of the software or the mod, it'll prevent the player from moving other tokens. And so you will be able to stop that from happening even before, like, it'll lock it down so that they're not able to move things forward. So this is a fantastic module just for those features. It's a great visual on the screen when people are looking at it, and it's also great that it locks down everything else so that they're not able to manipulate what's happening on the screen accidentally. Now let's look at the other mods that are available that I told you to download. Tokenizer is a great token. I'm not going to go over it right now, but there are ways to manipulate the tokens themselves so they look more dynamic, look a little bit more awesome based off of clip art and how to manipulate those things. There are videos on how to do that. If you want me to do a video on how to make some really great tokenizer art, then let me know in the comments and I'll jump in there and I'll help you with that. Material Plane is a mod that I use to mix physical miniatures with touchscreens. I'll get more into that mod in my next video. Do you use Foundry for your touchscreen? What mods do you use that work best for you? Be sure to include your suggestions in the comments below. And don't forget to check out our next video where I'll go into more detail on how to bring some advanced features to your game using Foundry. Until then, I wish you the very best of luck in all of your adventures, and I'll see you next time when we level up our crafting together.